every great civilization has declined when its culture of openness is replaced by closed minds and an aversion to questions. Western civilization has flourished and prospered precisely because it has cast off the yoke. That's the Catholic Church, and allowed free thought. We in India are in decline because our culture has lost its ability to question and innovate. We also prefer shortcuts. It is a historical inevitability that, and there is nothing we can do about it. Do you agree that this can be the reason for the decline of Indian civilization? Okay, multiple reasons for the decline of Indian civilization. You make some interesting points here. Multiple reasons. First of all, we gradually lost our sovereignty over our territory with the expansion of the Turkic occupation of India. Starts with Gandhar, starts with Afghanistan, about 1000 years before today. Afghanistan was the first part of the subcontinent that fell. And it was primarily Buddhist at the time, which is why it converted very rapidly to Islam. So Indian civilization switched off there. It becomes part of Turkic and Islamic civilization, right? Then slowly the Turks started encroaching into various parts of India. For 3, 4, 500 years, the Rajputs fought them. Eventually, the Turks were able to make inroads. They established the Delhi Sultanate. And then eventually the Mughal Empire became a thing, and they took over very large parts of India. When you come under foreign occupation, your institutions are no longer able to function. What institutions did we have in India before the Turks came in? We had monarchies, we had empires at times, we had indigenous administrative systems, we had an indigenous education system that was the same more or less across the subcontinent. We had our own ways of conducting social rituals, marriages, weddings, childbirths, and so many other things, right? When you are under foreign occupation, none of these things, you're no longer free to do any of these things unless the foreign occupiers allow you to do it. The foreign occupiers, they had a very clear purpose in India: to convert everybody to their foreign religion. And they went to the extent of doing genocide in India multiple times. They destroyed all the temples. So the entire education system that was built around temples in northern India wiped out. Only small scale temples that somehow survived, they were able to function. Then the indigenous administrative system is gone. The great universities are destroyed and burned. So when all your knowledge is destroyed, when your system of education is destroyed, when all your intellectuals are killed off, when your kings are no longer kings or they're killed off and foreigners are ruling you, they are imposing foreign laws on you, then where can you have a culture of openness? Where can you have a culture where you can have free thought and free debate? When you are under threat of dying anytime, there's no free thought, there's no free debate, there's no innovation, there is no cultural manifestation of new cultural forms. Your music dies out, your dance forms die out, you're forced to do weddings in the middle of the night, otherwise the Turks will abduct the girls. So you see, everything, the entire society ossifies, it becomes calcified, it can't evolve, right? So that sort of thing happened. And that is the reason for the decline of Indian civilization, first of all. Then you had the Europeans who came and took over. The British did that. And the British went multiple steps further than the Turks. They said, we will not genocide the Indians. Yeah, sure, we'll starve them to death and maybe a few 100 million we can kill off like that. But we want to mentally colonize the Indians. So they first of all abolished whatever was surviving of the indigenous Indian education system. And then they made it mandatory for you to have an English medium education if you wanted a government job. And because they completely deindustrialized India, the only way to earn a livelihood was by having a government job. But for that, you had to know English. You had to have an English education based on the system the British had imposed on you. So that completely wiped out our society, our culture. And it planted the seeds of mental colonization and mental slavery into the minds of Indians. And that education system the British imposed still continues today. And it's an education system based on rote memorization. See, how do you actually learn something? You learn by asking questions, right? But in the Indian education system, you're not supposed to ask questions. You're supposed to answer questions. So it is completely killed off, the ability to think critically, the ability to learn things on your own. You're not supposed to ask questions. You're not supposed to learn things. You're not supposed to think critically. You're simply supposed to accept whatever you're told. These are the reasons why our civilization is dying. Now, when it comes to culture, one of the most important elements of civilization is culture, which manifests itself in multiple forms: architecture, dance, music, all of that. All of this is, and in India, in a civilization like India civilization, all of this needs state patronage. And today, in today's 21st century society, even 20th century society, there has been almost no state patronage for Indian cultural activities like dance, music. Nothing has evolved. Indian musicians are still playing the same sitar they were playing 100 years ago. The instruments haven't evolved, and the gharanas are dying out. So because there is no money now, and the masses, they now watch the cheap Bollywood music and whatnot. That's why Indian cultural forms like Indian classical dances, non-classical dances, there's no actual distinction. Indian classical music, all of this is simply dying a slow, gradual death. And the education system for it doesn't teach you how to innovate, how to question. So because of all these reasons, Indian culture, Indian civilization is declining. And if this continues another 50 years, we'll be finished. India will be a footnote in history.